But another excellent day for an exorcism. Hi, everybody. Since I went ahead and talked about the first Exorcist in my last video, I'm going to be going ahead to, since I'm actually going to go see the new one tonight, I figured I'd try to squeeze in at least a couple more reviews, so I'm going to try to talk very quickly about the last two here. I was going to do these as two separate reviews, but I'm going to decide to put them both together. I'm going to talk about both Exorcist II, The Heretic, and The Exorcist III. So we're going to start off the video with Exorcist II. And I know you're thinking, oh, geez, he's really going to talk about Exorcist II? Really? Now, before I start the video, before I go on to talk about Exorcist II, talk about the movie itself, the plot, the Blu-ray, reviewing it and whatnot, I am going to say I am very well aware of its infamy, that it is often considered by fans, horror fans especially across the globe, that it is considered by many to be one of the absolute, not only one of the worst sequels of all time, one of the worst horror sequels of all time, but also it's considered one of the worst movies ever made, period. But if anybody starts, before you guys start commenting or sending hate comments, hear me out. I don't condone this movie. I mean, there's actually a part of me that actually kind of enjoyed this film. But like I said, I'll try to I'll try to get out as much as I can because there is a lot I definitely have to say about this film, though. Basically, Exorcist II picks up some 4 years after the events of the first film. So Regan McNeil, once again played by Linda Blair, is basically, she's still having nightmares, about what she endured with the possession and, of course, the exorcism that she had to go through, and it's possible the demon Pazuzu, which, by the way, was never mentioned by name in the first movie. He's only referred to by name in this one. Well, he is finally referred to by name in this one. So, and also the Vatican sends a investigating priest, played in the film by actor Richard Burton, who they basically send him to investigate the death of Father Merrin because apparently he's been brought up on heresy charges because the Vatican has decided to try to modernize and try to put their belief more in science and technology instead of focusing on ridding demons using exorcism techniques. And also a research specialist excuse me, and a research specialist played by Louise Fletcher. And of course, the investigator wants to know basically what actually happened the night of the exorcism and what happened. And so he ends up undergoing using a machine that puts him under a hypnosis, and apparently he's able to communicate with Regan through this machine, and he learns about what happened in the past, and ultimately the demon Pazuzu begins to basically take him on a bit of a spiritual journey across the globe, and it takes him into a bit of the past where apparently Father Merrin, at one point, before trying to exorcise Regan, he actually exorcised the same demon years ago over in Africa somewhere. A young boy apparently became possessed by Pazuzu, and Father Merrin successfully exorcised him. The boy survived, he grew up, and apparently the priest ultimately decides that if he wants to find any kind of answers, he needs to track this guy down. But unfortunately, because he got help from Pazuzu, he actually has been branded a heretic by many people, hence the title, Exorcist II, The Heretic. So basically, now of course, once he figures out what to do, now he realizes that poor Regan might be in danger yet again because apparently he learns that Pazuzu has been targeting people that are potentially spiritual healers, and apparently Regan might possibly be one herself. So that's kind of the story of the film in a nutshell, and yeah, like I said, say what you want about the movie, it is here to stay, so it is what it is. John Boorman, yeah, the director of Exorcist II, by the way, when the first movie went into development back in the early 70s, John Boorman was actually one of the few directors that was actually offered the opportunity to make The Exorcist. In fact, The Exorcist came out in '73. The year before, he actually had done a successful film for Warner Brothers, which was Deliverance. And due to the success of that movie, he was actually offered the opportunity to do The Exorcist, but once he read the script and the screenplay, he found it too repulsive, and he flat out turned it down. Now, of course, after the monstrous success of the original movie back in '73, Warner Brothers obviously wanted to do a sequel, but William Friedkin and William Peter Blatty, the director and writer of the original film, they wanted nothing to do with any possible follow-ups, and none of the cast of the original film wanted anything to do with it either. Well, with the exception of 3, as far as I know, because Linda Blair, Reagan from the original movie, actually, she read the screenplay for Exorcist II, and she actually very much wanted to get involved. Because what John Boorman wanted to do with Exorcist II, instead of it, because he actually felt repulsed at the idea of a family like being torn apart by a young girl who became demonically possessed, and he wanted to kind of add a bit more of a adventurous and more spiritualistic feel to his film instead of what William Friedkin did with the original. So, based on that criteria, John Boorman felt that, oh, okay, well, and then he was offered the chance to do the sequel. Well, right after he did, after he turned down The Exorcist, he ended up going on to do Zardoz. And after Zardoz came out, he ended up wanting to do Exorcist II when he was offered the chance to direct it. So, yeah, he said, all right, yeah, I'll do it. And he ended up working on a screen. Well, yeah, did John? Well, yeah, John produced it, but yeah, he didn't write it though. But he, they were given a screenplay that actually felt more more to what he wanted to do. And of course, Linda Blair read the screenplay and she said, yeah, actually, this sounds pretty good. I'd like to return as Reagan. And not only did she return, also Kitty Wynn, who was in the original film, she actually played Reagan's, I'm guessing, babysitter or guardian, I think. She was in the house with Chris McNeil. And, yeah, there she is, Kitty Wynn. And Max von Sydow returns to play Father Merrin in, flashbacks, and he ends up playing like a younger Father Merrin. But unfortunately, during the production of the movie, the script constantly got rewritten several times, and at one point, Linda Blair started to get a little disgusted, the fact that the script was constantly changing. And she realized that she couldn't back out, so she had to finish the film. And also, during the filming of the movie, John Boorman got really sick during the production. And ultimately, Rospo Pallenberg, the creative associate, ended up taking over directing duties for a while John was recovering. And even Linda Blair came ill under the production too, and I think Louise Fletcher did as well. So yeah, it was definitely a very troubled production during the making of the movie. So, and the movie was released in theaters in 1977 by Warner Brothers, and in its opening weekend, it was only in the theaters for about a week before the movie was pulled because due to the when it opened up, it was met with such overwhelming negative response. It was met with such overwhelming negative reactions from people. Critics just jumped all over the movie, and even William Friedkin and William Peter Blatty just condemned the film as well, saying that it had nothing on their original movie. Nothing. And at one point, the movie was actually pulled from the theaters because they felt John Boorman felt the theatrical release was not getting the reaction he had hoped for, and he went back and decided to re-edit the film and trim some of the footage out of the movie. So the original cut was almost 2 hours in length, and he trimmed the movie down to about 102, and then put it back in the theater. But unfortunately, the reaction that the re-edited cut got was, I think, even worse than the theatrical release. It was even worse. So, and there was reports that many of the people that worked on Exorcist II at one point, they were in a limo. They actually stopped outside a movie theater that was playing Exorcist II. And, the people in the audience were obviously not enjoying the film at all. And then apparently somebody in the audience recognized some of the people that worked on the movie, and then she ended up screaming out loud, "The people that worked on this movie are here in this theater!" And before you know it, the audience in the theater quickly erupted into a riot and chased the men out of the theater and into the street. It's a fact I looked up on IMDb and all that, and it's actually a very interesting fact. But yeah, the movie ultimately was made on a budget of, say, $14 million, I think. Ended up grossing a little over $30 million domestically in its theatrical run. Yeah, I mean, technically it was technically still a box office hit, but yeah, it was nowhere near as big of a juggernaut that the original movie was. But yeah, honestly, it looked like it was just one of those films that just kind of fell in the original film's shadow, if you will. And that's pretty much what happened with the movie. And I think that's where all the negative reaction came from, mainly because a lot of people felt that this movie, I mean, if you were to compare these two films together, they're both like entirely different films. Exorcist II, The Heretic, it's got a more spiritual, adventurous feel. And like I said, it's like an entirely different movie compared to the original film. And I would say on the batshit crazy level scale, this movie definitely tops it up at a solid 10 on that scale, because there are some sequences in this film that are just so out of the ordinary. But the thing is, that's the kind of movie that John Boorman wanted. And if you look at John Boorman's filmography, he's done a couple of movies that, pretty much, and of course, even he was placated by a lot of people, because everybody was like, why would you do this movie? Why? But over the years, he kind of distanced himself from the film because he felt that, he didn't realize that it was getting such a bad rap. And in the later years, though, he kind of opened up and said, you know what? Actually, he didn't think it was that bad. Though John Boorman did recover after this. I mean, of course, he went on to make the next film he ended up making after Exorcist II was Excalibur. And he definitely recovered after that. And he ended up making a couple of films that, actually managed to pull him out of the gutter that he felt that he got stuck in with Exorcist II. And what is my personal opinion on the film? Honestly, I don't think it's as bad as everybody says it is. I kind of have a bit of a soft spot for this movie. There are some parts of the film I actually found pretty interesting. It does have a bit of a pacing issue, but there are parts of the film I actually found pretty interesting. I also found out recently that filmmakers Martin Scorsese and Quentin Tarantino actually praised this film. They both have actually admitted that this film gets way too much of a negative rap, and it's rather unfair. And yeah, I know there's a lot of people that are going to say, how could you like this movie? This movie is just universally hated. It's so easy to hate this movie because, like I said, it's just overshadowed by the more successful film and the one that, nobody cares about it. But honestly, though, when it comes to Exorcist II, give this movie a try. You'd be surprised. I mean, there are some people that actually found this film rather interesting. And yeah, like I said, if you could just ignore the fact that if you're thinking that, oh, this is going to be like the original. No, I'm going to say you here and now. Exorcist II is nothing like the original film. It is an entirely different movie. It's an entirely different film in pace, in tone, everything. I mean, it's more of an adventure film than it is a horror drama. Yeah, there are some dramatic moments in the movie, and I'm not going to lie, some of the acting is rather decent. I think Richard Burton did a fantastic job in the film as the priest. Linda Blair, does her part pretty well. Louise Fletcher, again, is pretty good in her part. And also James Earl Jones playing Kokomo, who's the older version of he's the boy or the man that was once possessed by Pazuzu. Yeah, it's actually cool to see the voice of... Well, actually, this movie came out the same year Star Wars did, so James Earl Jones got to do this. But it's actually pretty cool that, but like I said, the visuals in this film are pretty unique. And also, John Boorman gets to reteam with Ned Beatty actually appears in the film, too, in a small appearance, so it's actually cool that he got to rework with him from Deliverance. Also, Ennio Morricone did the score for the film. It's kind of funny I mentioned Quentin Tarantino because he had later scored Hateful Eight for I mean, yeah, Ennio Morricone later scored Hateful Eight for Quentin Tarantino and actually won the Oscar for that. But, yeah, like I said, honestly, I don't think Exorcist II is as bad of a film as everybody says it is. At least I don't think. But, like I said, I've said it before many times, try to ignore, even though, like I said, this is a sequel, but just try to ignore the fact that this movie is anything like the original. It's not. But, judged based on that, I still find it a rather interesting movie, and of course, like I said, I don't think it's as bad as everybody says it is. Anyway, I'm going to talk about the Blu-ray here real quick. The Blu-ray is released by Shout Factory in a collector's edition, which is really handsome. Exorcist II has been released on home video quite a few times, actually. So, how about if I... yes, I apologize. I should have turned that light on because it is starting to get dark, but this is perfect. Yeah, honestly, Exorcist II has been released a few times on home video. I know Warner Brothers put it out on DVD a while back, and then, of course, it got re-released in a box set with, I think it was in 2006 or 07, when they did a complete box set of all the Exorcist films, including the original, the third one, and the two prequels that were made in the 2000s. And then it got a standalone release on Blu-ray. Well, no, actually, they put out a Blu-ray set that had all the Exorcist films by Warner Brothers, and then they eventually put it out separately. But now Shout Factory put out a rather nice collector's edition. This is one of the few that I actually still have the keep case for. I never got rid of the cover sleeve. I usually throw them out, but I decided to hold on to this one, so it looks pretty cool. But I prefer the original cover art, which is really nice. So inside are two discs. The first disc is the original theatrical cut, which, by the way, was very rarely seen, because, like I said, this was the version that was in theaters before it got pulled out a week after its release, and then they recut the film into the original home video cut, which is on this disc here. So I did not watch the home video cut. In fact, the first time I actually ever saw Exorcist II was actually on Blu-ray here. I decided to watch the original cut. I think I remember watching it. I think it came on TV like a long time ago when I was a kid, and I lost interest in the film pretty quick. I mean, this was long after I'd seen the original movie, so... so the video quality on the disc, honestly, is not as strong as the video quality on the original film, but honestly, I still say... Now, I've never owned... This is the first time, actually, I've ever owned Exorcist II on any home video, so I don't know what the original Warner Brothers Blu-ray was like, but from what I've looked at online, it didn't exactly have a lot of good... There wasn't a lot of good stuff to say about it. So, honestly, the video quality on Exorcist II actually is not bad. It looks fairly decent for the most part. It was... presented in, it had a brand new 2K scan of, they actually did a 2K scan of both versions, the original cut and the recut version. Both films are presented in 1A5x1 widescreen anamorphic, which honestly, like I said, it looks rather fuzzy throughout the whole movie, but then again, I feel like John Boorman is known for that. Excalibur is like that too, where the whole picture looks rather fuzzy, but I think it was done that way deliberately. But as I mentioned in my Excalibur video, that during the whole entire shoot of Excalibur, it was raining the whole time, so it's why it has kind of that fuzzy-like, dream-like look to it. And I feel like Exorcist II was like the same way, but then again, John Boorman does, he is a unique filmmaker, so he kind of did a few things to make the movie look the way he wanted it. But for the most part, the video on the disc looks rather decent, so I would say out of 5 stars, I'd say 4 out of 5. For the audio, it's only presented in DTS Master Audio Mono, which is 2.0 mono, and it was just up-converted to DTS for the Blu-ray, and it's the same track on both discs, by the way. And honestly, sounds really decent, but I don't think it's as strong as the video looks. I would say out of 5 stars, probably give it maybe 3.5. As for the bonus features, there's actually a rather decent amount of stuff here that Shout Factory loaded onto this disc. First of all, we get not 1, not 2, but 3 audio commentaries. Yeah, there's actually, well, even though there's 2 listed here on the back, in the actual, like if you were to put in the discs and look at the main menu. Now the original cut I think has 2 commentaries on it, and the home video cut has 1 on it. And the original cut has a couple of interviews with, I know one of them is with Linda Blair as she looks back on the film. And there's another interview, I forget with who else. One commentary is with John Boorman, but that's on the lengthier cut. And he looks back on, how the, his experience on the film, no doubt his reaction to the movie being released in theaters, and the aftermath, like, the call following it eventually got, and, his desire to come back and, speak his piece about Exorcist II. Special project consultant Scott Michael Bosco, not exactly sure who... like I said, not really sure who that is, but also you get teasers and theatrical trailers and still galleries. I mean, again, none of this stuff was actually on the original Warner Brothers release. In fact, the original release, I think all there was a trailer maybe for an extra. That's about it. But the fact that Shout Factory just had to go out of their way to literally give a full-blown collector's edition release to a movie that is just not so well liked among fans, that's pretty amazing. I would say for the bonus features out of 5 stars, definitely a solid 5. So, yeah, that's, like I said, Exorcist II, The Heretic. I'm actually glad that Shout Factory decided to go out of their way to actually put out a very solid release of this movie, to give it a full-blown collector's edition release for a film that's just, like I said, not very well liked. But hey, I mean, but, like I said, give this movie a try. You'd be surprised. It might actually be, it might be better. It's definitely better than you think. And I actually might have to agree with Cinepunks.com here when they said it's the most interesting of all the films because it takes chances none of the other films are willing to risk. I actually have to agree with that. But like I said, I mean, I'm not like literally telling you to actually go watch this movie. I'm simply saying try to give it a try. I mean, I know a lot of people, want to hate on the movie because, like I said, it is, obviously nowhere near as good as the original, but I've actually come across and found a few people that actually said Exorcist II was better than the original. And I have to give them, respect for saying this movie is obviously better than the original film, but, I mean, hey, to each his own. To each their own, so... I was going to say I was going to do a 2-part video. Try to talk about Exorcist 3 in the same video, but I'm going to save that for a second part. So, like I said, I didn't realize this video was going on a little longer than I thought. But like I said, so my personal opinion on Exorcist 2, yes, it is universally hated by people and critics. I mean, the original film on Rotten Tomatoes has a 78% on there. Exorcist 2 only has a 9% rating on that site. But again, a lot of the times I don't judge movies based on the based on a Rotten Tomato rating. There are movies that gotten even worse ratings on there that I absolutely love. Or movies that have a 0% rating on there that I actually kind of enjoyed. So, and there's some movies on there that got like over 90% on that site that I absolutely can't stand. But again, it's all about preference. But my personal opinion on Exorcist 2 is ignore the critics, ignore the ratings, ignore the hate, give this movie a try. You might actually find it entertaining, and if you don't like it, hey, that's up to you. That's your opinion, so that's okay with that. So anyway, but yeah, the Blu-ray release, the collector's edition here is beautiful. It's a beautiful release of this film. A great selection of bonus features. You get two different cuts of the film to watch. And honestly, couldn't ask for a better release of this movie. If you love it, that's great. But if you don't, oh well. Alright, so this concludes the presentation in this particular video. And I will be doing part 3 here momentarily. So until then, take care and be safe. And everybody take care.